Do you ever watch a horror film and you think to yourself, thank goodness this can't happen in real life? What if I told you that it could? Dennis DePue, by all accounts, seemed to have a very normal, very regular upbringing, but he had something dark lurking beneath him. He was controlling, he was paranoid, he was aggressive. He was a very violent man who would emotionally and physically abuse those around him, especially his wife. Dennis DePue is known as the real-life Jeepers Creepers, and if you've watched the very first instalment of that franchise, you will 100% pick out the similarities within this case. This is a horrifying and harrowing case about a wife who lost her life to an abusive husband who should never have been given the opportunity to harm her. And this is a case of the disgusting, evil, human life Jeepers Creepers, Dennis DePue. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I hope you're all doing so well. Welcome back to another true crime and makeup episode. Oh yeah. Today I have got the crazy case of Dennis DePue. His face tells us all we need to know. He genuinely looks like Jeepers Creepers. I actually think the character might have been based off that face because it is a thing of nightmares. Before we get into the case, my usual spiel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Anna. I am a certified yapper. I like to talk. I talk too much. One day I decided that I was going to hop on the internet, yap about true crime, hopefully find a community of people like myself, and I did. So if true crime is your jam and you want new episodes twice a week, every single week, then I highly suggest that you subscribe down below, get the notification bell on because I am here for you on a Wednesday and Sunday. If you are a regular here and you're already part of the fam, you know the drill. Get down in the comments, leave a comment, leave a like, maybe share it if you feel obliged, because it really helps out the channel. Any details you need regarding me, myself and I, product details, social media handles, links to case suggestion forms, email addresses, it is all listed down below. But without any further rambling and any further ado, let's get into the horrifying case of Dennis DePue, the real life Jeepers Creepers. Now listen, I just need to say it, this guy, can we even call him a guy? Because tell me why, this guy, he is my sleep paralysis demon. I swear to God, one night I've woken up and this big Jeepers Creepers looking freak has been sitting on my chest.
Boom. Roasted.
He looks like death warmed up. Like he is still alive but he's barely breathing. If I walk by him on the street, I'm going to start administering CPR.
Boom. Roasted.
Dial 911 immediately because this guy, he's death walking.
Boom. Roasted.
And I know it can be harsh when it comes to these sick murderers, but if you're ugly inside, you're going to be ugly on the outside. So yeah, big Jeepers Creepers looking fella, I can absolutely see it. Like I actually think, if I seen him walking down the street, I might think the apocalypse has finally happened. So Dennis Henry DePue, I think that's how you say his name. I am praying for the best, but expecting the worst as per usual. He was born on June the 3rd of 1943 and he was born in Sturgis, St. Joseph of Michigan. I don't think we've been in Michigan yet on my channel, have we? Any murderers in Michigan? Put your hands up. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Also, I've got paint all over my hands and my nails, but it's very much DIY central in this house, so ignore that. Can't seem to get it off. Love that for me. So big Jeepers Creepers, he was born to his father Claude Dale DePue and also his mother Elma Merle. Merle is how I'd say it, but Merle as in like Merle Dixon. Elma Merle DePue. Now, I was digging deep because I was like, a guy this messed up, there has got to be a trigger somewhere. Like in the childhood, I was scouring the internet, I was watching like interviews and all that jazz, trying to find out what happened to this man. What happened to you, bro? Why are you the way you are? Turns out nothing really happened. As a child, he had a very normal childhood, like quite a box standard, unexciting, nothing to decipher sort of childhood. He was relatively close with both of his parents, and within high school he seemed to do quite well. He got really good grades and he seemed to work hard in all his classes. His grades were that good that he was able to go on to Michigan State University and he would obtain a bachelor's degree in business education, which, really good degree to have. Is that what... My boyfriend has a bachelor's degree in business. Do you know if it's like business education or just business? I don't know, maybe I should ask him. It's only been nearly like 10 years. So as soon as he gets out of education, he jumps straight into work, and he would work as a property tax specialist for the state of Michigan's Department Treasury. Now, he was quite the busy boy, because whilst he was working his full-time job, he was also an educator. So he would teach business in Portland, Oregon, and also Los Angeles, California. The man's not got a minute to himself. Maybe that's why he looks barely alive. Overworked and underpaid, I've been there. So Dennis the Creeper, he was actually quite a well-liked man, to be honest. He was known to be very good at his job. He was really passionate about teaching his students. He seemed really dedicated. He really just wanted the best for everyone in his classes and in his life. And not only was he known to be a dedicated professional, but even within his community he was very dedicated. He would always want to take part in community activities. He really got to know the people within his community. He seemed like a stand-up-ish guy. So within his work as a property tax specialist, he would also become a property assessor. Now, for Dennis, it was really important to him to ensure that there was fair property assessments, and that way it would maintain trust within the community and him as a businessman. And it would also help with the financial stability of the people in the community. And I'm sorry, but we all need someone like that on our side. Have you seen the house prices these days? Like, I'm a midge's eyelash away from setting up a GoFundMe for me. Just please fund my life. But of course, because Dennis made his passions and, you know, his aims for the community public knowledge, the people of the community really did start... I'm sorry, take a shot every time I say community. What's going on there? There is different words in the dictionary, Anna. Use them. But people within the area, the township, they really trusted Dennis, and they would always go to him if they need property assessments, anything like that. He was the go-to guy because they knew it would be fair and they knew that they could just trust him. So at this point in his life, Dennis, he's doing well for himself, right? He is respected within the local community. He's doing well in life, he's thriving in his job, everything that you would hope to be and more at that stage in your life. But when he goes home at night, it's to an empty house. And he's thinking, you know, it might be difficult with this face, but I should try and get a woman. I would like a little lady to come home to at night. And he must have been wearing some incredible aftershave, because somehow this man, Jeepers Creepers Den, he lands himself a woman. So it's early 1970 and Dennis is out on the prowl. Like, he's in the bars, he's in the clubs, he is looking for the woman of his dreams. And that is when he would come across Marilyn Lee McClanahan. Now, Marilyn Lee McClanahan, she was a well-respected, well-loved school guidance counsellor at Coldwater, Michigan. Now, the pair had crossed paths on several occasions through like mutual friends, also through like a professional circle of people. They came across each other, they really got along, and the thing that seemed to really draw them together was the fact that both of them had such a passion for the work that they did. They both wanted to work hard, but they wanted to come home to someone at the end of the day. Both of them equally admired this trait in one another, and it really seemed to spark a deep connection. And so they were like, hell yeah, let's get to know each other better. So Marilyn and Jeepers Creepers, they would date for quite a while before then getting married in 1971. So quite a quick turnaround, which wasn't really uncommon for that time. And listen, we still see that today. People get married really early on and they live a very happy life together. No shade here. I love it. Love to see it when it's a happy, healthy marriage. And this marriage would start off pretty perfect, pretty strong. Perfect might be an understatement, but it was pretty strong. And the pair got really excited to start their life together within Coldwater, Michigan. And it would be here in Coldwater, Michigan, where Dennis and his wife Marilyn, they would have 3 children together. So they've got Jennifer Dawn, Julie Marie and Scott Dennis. And I really just want to give you some detail, some background on Marilyn so you can understand the kind of woman she was. She was born on January the 24th of 1941 and she was born in Detroit, Michigan. Marilyn was known for a really charming, kind personality. Like everyone who met her just liked her. Like you couldn't not have a soft spot for Marilyn. And it would be this kind and caring nature of Marilyn's that made her so lovable within her social life, within her work life. It was what really helped her excel in her job as a school guidance counsellor. She was incredible at this. She had such empathy and sympathy and such a nurturing, warm, caring personality that children felt like they could go to Marilyn and really open up to her. She truly cared about these students and she truly cared about their well-being, and it showed. It showed to the students themselves. They knew that when they were talking to Marilyn, they've got an ear that is listening. Not just someone there sitting doing their job, they have someone in front of them who genuinely cares. Not only was she loved by the students in the school, she was also absolutely adored by all of her colleagues. They really respected her, they really admired her in the way she conducted herself and how she was able to connect with the children in the school. And not only was Marilyn an incredible professional within her work, she was also an incredible mother. I mean, she just doted on her children. She gave them a nurturing, caring, supportive environment. And honestly, I think what she did at home translated to what she was like in the school. But I also feel like what she did in the school translated to her life at home as well. She knew just how important it was for child development and children's emotional and academic growth that she was able to implement this in her own children's lives. So Marilyn, she was an incredible, incredible mother, as we've stated. And I think what was just amazing about her is that her career kept her very, very busy. Like sometimes she'd have to do late hours, do some paperwork, all of that. But she was always there for her family, for her husband, for her children. Her children always felt like they came first, no matter how busy she was. So as we were saying, the relationship, the marriage, it started off really strong. They've got 3 children together. They've both got good careers. So where could it possibly go wrong? And whilst it would remain happy and almost picture perfect for a while, it would soon crumble like an old stale cookie because this guy Dennis, he just gets weirder and weirder. Dennis soon becomes very controlling, very aggressive. He's very paranoid, very obsessive when it comes to Marilyn. It got to a point where Marilyn was no longer able or allowed to do the things that she had once loved. Dennis was controlling every aspect of her life, who she could see, who she couldn't see, where she could go, where she couldn't go. She got to a point where all the decisions in her life were being made for her by Dennis. She was growing so miserable. A woman once full of so much light and so much love. Honestly, just this really incredible aura to be around. It was like her light had just been completely dimmed. And it was all down to this man. I just got really close to my mirror there and I've missed like a whole section of my monobrow. So as you can imagine, over time, everything that's going on in our marriage now with Dennis, like, it's just becoming too much. Marilyn is just a shell of the person that she once was. And it's just all too consuming now. So one day, Marilyn is able to go and see her friends, and the second she is with them, she just breaks down in tears. Marilyn just spills everything. She tells them what's happening between her and Dennis, the way he's acting, he's crazy, he's controlling her, accusing her of cheating, accusing her of being a liar. Just all this really horrible, crappy stuff that Dennis is doing. She tells them that Dennis is no longer the man that she fell in love with, and in fact, this man is now ruining her life. Not only that, but she tells her friends that she is now at the point where she just wants to end the marriage. She's tried to make it work. She's tried to speak to Dennis, but nothing's going to give. The creep is set in his ways, and it doesn't seem like he is going to stop controlling her anytime soon. So it would be in 1989 where Marilyn comes to the decision that this marriage just is not worth the pain anymore. She has sacrificed her happiness, the happiness of her children. She has allowed her life to be ruled for too long now, and she wants to take back that control of her own life. So in April of 1989, Marilyn, she would file for divorce, and this day just felt like a big weight was being lifted off her shoulders. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, when Marilyn tells Dennis that she's filing for divorce, he throws his toys out the pram like a big baby, and he is begging and pleading with her, like, don't leave me, I'll change, I know I can be a better husband if you just give me the chance. And Marilyn's just sitting there like, bruh, I've given you chance after chance, what do you mean you want another one? You will never ever change. Like, when you ask Dennis, do you know what you did wrong? He's like, no, but I'll change anyway. But he doesn't even see anything wrong in his actions. So this is a man who will never ever change because he does not see the wrong that he's done. And thankfully, Marilyn knows this. Marilyn knows that there is no hope of this man changing. Like, he is the way he is, and that's just it. And 1 year later, this divorce would be finalised. Marilyn finally felt like she could be free. So when the divorce went through, Dennis himself, he wasn't really fighting for any belongings. He didn't fight for the home. The only thing that he requested is that he could keep his home office in the garage. And Marilyn agreed to this. She didn't want to be completely hostile. She didn't want to cause any waves. So she was like, yeah, okay, you can keep your home office in the garage, but that's it. So she had all the other locks changed on the house, and he would only have access to his home office. And I think this is a really, really fair deal for Dennis. I mean, I think a lot of people would be like, no, I don't want you anywhere near me. But Marilyn was nice enough and accommodating enough to allow him to keep this space. So Marilyn at this point, she is getting her life back on track. She is trying to do the things that she loves and enjoys without someone sitting around controlling her every move and watching her like a goddamn hawk. And life seems to be going pretty well for Marilyn. This is definitely a better way for her to live, and she finds that she doesn't actually miss Dennis because all she knew in the end was his controlling, obsessive, paranoid behaviour. So there's one day when Marilyn has been out and about, just enjoying herself, having one of her regular days, in a really happy, upbeat mood, and then she walks in her house. And who's sitting on her living room couch? Big old Jeepers Creepers. And how did he get in? Because the locks are changed. So that doesn't really make sense. Like, he could have access to the garage, but the garage only. He never had like a key for the house doors or anything like that. Has this guy came and got a key cut or something? Like, what's going on? This made Marilyn feel really uneasy and unsafe in her home, because how could just anyone who doesn't have a key, how could they enter the house? There didn't seem to be any signs of forced entry, so she was really worried about the fact that Dennis had been able to get in so easily. And of course, it wasn't unlike Dennis to be on the property. He would come and go quite a bit for his home office, but he's never been in the house. Marilyn then starts to believe and starts to think more deep into this, and she's thinking, I bet he only wanted to keep this home office, so he still had a way to keep his eye on this entire family. Was he really working in there, or is he sitting with like voodoo dolls of his family, Marilyn and the 3 children, trying to control them to do whatever he wants? So the judge who had been presiding over their divorce, they had granted Dennis like visitation rights. So he would basically get to see his children every 2 weeks, and these every 2 weeks he would come over, maybe like take the children out, or even just like sit and chill with them for a bit. But April the 15th of 1990 comes around. It's Easter Sunday, and Dennis, he's coming around to pick up his children. He wants to take them out for the day. The children were saying like, no, we just want to stay home, we want to be with mum today, like we don't want to go anywhere. And you have to remember that these children have seen the abuse, like the controlling behaviour that Dennis has had toward Marilyn. They've witnessed this. It's normal that they might not want to spend time with a man who made their mother so unhappy. And the thing is as well, Dennis wasn't just controlling over Marilyn, he was controlling over his children too, and they probably felt like they couldn't really live a life with him either. So the children don't want to go, and with this, Dennis becomes infuriated. And who is the one person that he's going to blame for this? Who is the one person he is going to take his anger out on? Marilyn. So it starts off, his youngest daughter, she doesn't want to go anywhere with him. She's like, nah, no, not today, not coming with you. And he gets so frustrated. But it gets even worse when he goes in the house and he's speaking to his son Scott, and his son Scott's like, well, you know, I had plans. I was actually gonna go to the shop, pick up bread, come back. Like, he just felt like his son Scott was stalling, and this infuriated him to his core. And this is when Dennis starts grabbing Marilyn. He's like shaking her, pulling at her, screaming in her face. He is infuriated with her. He believes that this was all her doing. He's throwing around all these ludicrous accusations because Dennis is so paranoid and insecure that he can't even sit for 1 minute and think, this is all a reflection of my behaviour. No. It had to be that someone else was pulling the strings. He fully believed that Marilyn had poisoned the children against him. Not the fact that they had witnessed all the crap that he had put his wife through and thought, you know what, maybe I don't want to be around him either. No. You can't hold a mirror up to this guy. Number one, because he'll probably scare himself with his own face. But number two, because he cannot face the truth. He can't see the truth. Now, of course, Marilyn, being the kind soul that she is trying her best to reason with Dennis. She is assuring him, I would never ever do that. I would never try and turn your children against you. I want to protect them from that. I want you to have a relationship with them. But Dennis was not believing this, and the more Marilyn stood up for herself and, basically proved him wrong, the angrier he was becoming. And he just violently and viciously lunged at Marilyn. And when he does this, he grabs Marilyn and throws her down a flight of stairs. Steep stairs, stairs that would cause injury to her. And once she's at the bottom, he makes his way down and he proceeds to brutally beat his ex-wife in front of his children. And this asshole wonders why his children don't want to be around him, why they don't want to spend time with him. His own children are standing there in terror, watching their own mother get beaten. They are pleading with him. They are begging and crying for him to stop her and their mother. And he just doesn't care. Dennis's oldest daughter, Jennifer, she is absolutely terrified, of course. And she runs out of the house. She's trying to get help. She runs to a neighbour's and she calls 911. She has to call them on her own father because he is brutally beating her mother. Now suddenly this is when Dennis becomes very frightened and very aware of the fact that, oh, I actually might get in trouble for brutally beating my ex-wife for no reason whatsoever. So he picks up Marilyn, carries her up the stairs and basically shows Marilyn to his son and his younger daughter, and he's like, look, I'm taking her at the hospital, I'm going to make sure she's okay, I'm so sorry. And then he goes outside and he's trying to show his oldest daughter, like, I'm taking your mother to the hospital, no need to worry, no need to call the police. But she already had. So Dennis puts Marilyn into his truck and tells the children that he's taking her to the hospital to be treated. But Marilyn and Dennis, neither of them would check into a hospital, and with this, a wide police search would begin. So the very same day that all of this is going on, there's a married couple by the name of Ray and Maria Thornton. So they're driving on Snowperry Road, which I want to say is 12 miles outside of Coldwater, Michigan. Now they're playing a game in the car, and I think this is what the license plate game is, but I could be terribly wrong because I've never played it, so I'm really not sure. Let me know below. But what they were doing is when they were driving along, they would see a license plate coming towards them, and using the numbers and the letters in the license plate, they would make up a slogan. Is that the license plate game? I'm not sure. Also, I would be absolutely shocking at the license plate game because it would take me like 10 years to actually see what it is coming toward me, and then by the time I can read it, it's probably a way by, so I would be awful to play that with you. So they're driving along Snowperry Road and they would see this 1984 Chevrolet van coming toward them. Now they're like getting ready, getting hyped up to play the game, like who's going to get it first, can't wait. But they notice that this van is driving very aggressively, it's kind of like all over the place, that person seems like they're in a bit of a rush. And the speed they were going at, whew, Bit much. Now, despite the speed of this van, Ray and Marie, they're thinking, well, you know, he's speeding and he's a bit aggressive, but we still want to play the game. So they've got all eyes on the license plate. The van comes speeding by and Maria catches that the license plate has GZ on it. The slogan that she shouts out for the game is, "Geez, he's in a hurry." Good one, Marie. Love it. So the two of them, they're just kind of laughing to themselves, like tee-hee. And this game and the laughter would come to a very abrupt halt when they approached an old abandoned schoolhouse. They get to this schoolhouse and they see the 1984 Chevrolet van. And not only that, the man who was driving this van was standing outside it with a large bloody sheet. Now with this, Ray and Marie, they're like, oh, hold up, like, did we actually just see that? Should we be calling the police and getting the police here? Like, is this a crime scene? But before they could even continue contemplating what they were going to do, this van was right behind them, and I mean right up their rear end. That's what she said. But it was like right on their rear end. Sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. It was right behind them, right? And it was driving aggressively. It was trying to go bumper to bumper with them. And they were terrified because they're thinking this madman is probably not going to let us live if we've witnessed his crime. So Ray and Marie, they're also trying to speed up and try and get to a speed that will allow them to get away from this man. But this man tailgated them for miles. And they were just in complete terror. Also ignore that the face and the neck don't match. I'm gonna blend it. But also I'm not going anywhere, so if it only looks good from like here up, that's fine. So they were tailgated for miles until they were able to do a sharp turn off of the highway, which then resulted in the van driver having to pull over at the side. So when Ray turns the van around and drives past him again, he can see that this driver, he's now changing out the license plates on the 1984 Chevrolet van. Now the passenger side door, which he had obviously got the plates out of, this was lying open. And as they drove by, they seen that this man's van was full of blood. And the couple, they couldn't stop thinking about what they had seen that day, the bloody sheet, and they make the brave decision to drive back to this old schoolhouse. They get out their car and they're looking around and they were able to find this bloody sheet, and it didn't look like fake blood, and they just had this agonising feeling that it was human blood. And so they call the police. So after they call the police, a forensic team would come along, they seal off the old schoolhouse, this is an official crime scene, and it was able to be determined that the tyre tracks that was found at the old schoolhouse were tyre tracks that would match Dennis DePue's van. Because they had already went there with the suspicion that this man with the bloody sheet could be Dennis DePue, considering he and his wife were declared missing of some sort. You know, the police were looking for Dennis for beating his wife, and when they hadn't shown up at a hospital, a wide search had been started. And now at this point, police are starting to believe Dennis DePue has possibly killed his ex-wife. Now devastatingly, Marilyn's murder, her death, it would be confirmed the following day when a highway worker did come across her body. It was clear that Marilyn had been shot once in the back of the head. Her body had just been dumped in the middle of nowhere on the side of the road. This road was midway between the old schoolhouse and her home. And this immediately confirms to the police that the blood on that sheet was that of Marilyn DePue. So Marilyn's body's accounted for, Marilyn's been found, but where the hell is Dennis? So over the next few days, weeks, Dennis, he is sending letters back home to family and friends like he's on vacation. I'm surprised the guy never sent a postcard, but these letters were so unhinged, and he's basically justifying his actions, justifying killing his ex-wife, justifying killing the mother of his children. And with these deranged, unhinged letters, he would send 17 of these in total. These had all been postmarked for Virginia, Iowa, and also Oklahoma. He was stating in these letters that he had been lied to for a long time about everything. He was complaining about the fact that he had lost his wife and lost his children. Dennis, if you murder your ex-wife, very unlikely you're going to get her back. So you're complaining about losing her, but now you've lost her forever. And one of the main things that Dennis seemed to be really upset about was the fact that he was now too old to start over. Poor Dennis. How is Dennis meant to have a life now? He's too old. He's over the hill. And it's like he's sitting there, he's bitching and whining that he's never going to get to start over. Dennis can't start over. What about your dead ex-wife, who all she wanted was a quiet, peaceful life and wanting to start over with her children, and you wouldn't grant her that? So why the hell should you get to? So time goes on and there is no sign of Dennis anywhere. I mean, the police, they are searching high and low. His children are terrified that he might come back to try and get them, take them away, or even murder them. And then on March the 20th of 1991, I know, a lot of time has gone past, a woman, she would return to her home in Dallas, Texas, and she had noticed that her boyfriend, Hank Queen, is it Hank Queen though? I doubt it. But Hank Queen's van was parked outside in the driveway. This was really strange to her because Hank Queen never parked outside in the driveway. He always kept his van in the garage. So she's like, what's going on there, Hank? What are you doing? So she goes inside and she's speaking to Hank Queen like, yo Hank, what are you doing here? She can see that he is packing up his belongings, he's a bit flustered, and it looks like he's going to leave and never return. So she asks him where he's going and he's like, my mum, like she's so sick, she's just suddenly became really sick, I need to go visit her and, you know, might never come back. So he's basically leaving his girlfriend high and dry, right? Although he's not actually said that he'll never be back, he alludes to the fact that he'll be gone quite a while. But with this, he says to his girlfriend, could you just make me up some sandwiches for the drive? It's going to be a long drive, I'm going to get hungry, you know, tummy rumbling on the highway, don't want that. And he was just trying to throw all these little jobs at her to keep her occupied, which seems really, really weird, right? Now, why was he wanting to keep her so preoccupied and keep her so busy? Like, why is he not wanting hugs and kisses and goodbyes? The reason he did not want any hugs, kisses and goodbyes, or for his girlfriend to be sat in the living room alongside him, was because the TV was on in the background. And on the TV was an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And the case on Unsolved Mysteries was that of the murder of Marilyn DePue. They had put up Dennis DePue's photo and said that he was wanted for the murder of his own wife, but had disappeared. Now, why would Hank Queen be so worried about this? No, Hank Queen has nothing to worry about. Dennis DePue should be worried. Oh yeah, Hank Queen, Dennis DePue. And what this woman hadn't realised is that the man that she had let into her life was not Hank Queen. Hank Queen didn't even exist, or at least he never existed in this household. He might be somewhere worldwide, but Hank Queen was not in the room with her. This man was Dennis DePue, a hideous, horrific, awful, horrible, disgusting, wife-murdering scumbag. He had been quickly packing up to leave her before she noticed who he was and turned him into the police. All he cared about in that moment was himself, and it just shows you he never really cared about his girlfriend because it was so easy for him to just leave her. He could have just switched off the TV and called it a day, but no. And it is so disturbing for this woman because she had introduced this man to her friends, to her family. She had really let him in. And the man who he was pretending to be just didn't even exist in the first place. It's so scary that you can let someone into your life and they can be a cold-blooded murderer. Now, another thing that Dennis had been worried about if he had stuck around is the fact that, you know, what if one of his girlfriend's friends had watched the Unsolved Mysteries episode and then realised, oh my god, it's Hank Queen, but it's no Hank Queen, it's Dennis DePue. And then what if they handed him in to the police? He didn't want to risk it. He didn't want to go to jail. However, it wouldn't be too long after this episode aired that the police would receive a damning tip that would lead them to Dennis DePue. Now, the tip that the police had received actually provided them with the license plate number of the license plate that he had stolen and stuck onto his van. So Dennis says bye, grabs his sandwiches, hops in his van, and he would drive for 4 hours to Louisiana, and then he would cross the Mississippi state border. And this is when the Louisiana state troopers, they would notice Dennis DePue's van crossing the state line. And when Dennis realised that he had been spotted by the state troopers, he would lead them on a 15-mile high-speed chase. He was refusing to pull over for love nor money, and this man, he would do anything he possibly could to get away. Now, Mississippi authorities, they were alerted that Dennis DePue was crossing the state line and that he was wanted for first-degree murder, so they were on the lookout for him. They were putting up roadblocks, they were doing everything they could to make sure this man did not get by them. And I mean, they had up their roadblocks, but that did not stop Dennis DePue smashing right through one in the hopes of getting away. But the second he shot through and broke down this roadblock, the police, they just shot out his tyres. And honestly, take that, you jeepers creepers looking cretin. And at this point I'm thinking to myself, surely the guy's going to give himself up. Listen, he's been on a very long journey, he's just drove 4 hours, he's been in a 15-mile high-speed police chase. He must be tired. But this was not the case. Dennis was not yet ready to give up. And he gets into a shootout with the police. He is firing at every Tom, Dick, Harry, Fran and Sally. He just does not give a rat's ass. So he's shooting at the police, he's trying to ram the police cars off of the road. And it wouldn't be until 4 a.m. when this mass shootout would come to a halt. So Dennis is trying to shoot at all these police officers. He's driving around and he's trying to ram all the cars off the road. And then suddenly, the car just comes to a really sharp halt. The police are a bit wary about approaching this van because what if he's just slammed on the brakes and he's just sitting there ready with his gun? And the police, they very slowly approach the van and they would find Dennis inside this van and he's got his .357 in his left hand and he's also got his thumb on the trigger. Because Dennis realised whilst he's driving about like something out of the wacky races, he's no getting away. And he didn't want to go to prison, so he decided to end it on his terms. He shot himself, and he shot himself dead. And whilst I am so glad that Dennis didn't get to carry on his life, he didn't get that chance to start over, I can only try and imagine the pain and suffering that his 3 children and the rest of their family went through. I mean, for their children, they lost their mother, but to know that you lost your mother at the hands of your father, who then took his own life, it is just completely devastating. Losing 2 parents in such a short span of time and under those circumstances must be one of the most traumatic things that you could ever go through as a human being. And they are so strong for living through that, for trying to navigate that situation. And I am sending so much love their way to them, to their family. And I just want to say that Marilyn DePue truly sounded like one of life's good people. She sounded like an incredible woman who was so selfless. She cared about everyone else more than she cared about herself. And she was so devoted to her work, to her family, her friends. Everyone around her meant so much to her. And she made sure that people knew that. And I think in Marilyn's honour we can all do the same, make sure that the people that we love know that we love them and be there for them as much as we possibly can. But this video today is dedicated to Marilyn Lee McClenaghan. I want to use her maiden name because I'm not entirely sure she would still want to be known as Marilyn DePue. So Marilyn McClenaghan. And this video is also dedicated to her children and everyone who loved her. But my loves, that is it for another true crime and makeup episode. I do hope this one was interesting for you. I have seen a few people cover it, but I do think there were certain details I was able to find that hasn't maybe been touched on before. But let me know what you think. It's actually insane to know that the horror movie Jeepers Creepers, that opening of the first one, is based off an element of this case, but it does just show you that what these people went through was something straight out of a horror movie. Before I go today, please make sure you are subscribed, get that notification bell on because I'm here for you twice a week, every single week with a brand new interesting true crime case. If you want to, give me some support, if you can leave a like, a comment, maybe share the video, that would mean the entire world to me. YouTube algorithm isn't always my friend, so whatever you can do to help me push out the videos just means everything to me. It makes my heart so happy. If you have any case suggestions that you would like to see me cover on this channel, you can leave them in the comments below. You can email me, which you will find in the description, or I do have a case suggestion document that you can submit to. They all get compiled onto a big list and I gradually work my way through them. I just want to say, if you have suggested a case to me in the past, please know that I have not forgotten about it. I just genuinely have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases that I'm trying to make my way through. I promise I've not forgotten about you. I will absolutely get to your case. It just takes a little bit of time. If you want details of any of the products used in my face today, they will also be linked down below for you if there's anything you would like to pick up or purchase, but they're not affiliate or anything like that, so I don't make a commission, I don't make any money at all off them. I just simply put them there in case there's anything that you like the look of and you would like to pick up. If you want more content from me, then I do suggest you follow my Instagram and my TikTok, especially my TikTok. I'm much more active on there. But I think that's it for today. I think I've said everything that I need to say. I hope. I pray. So on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Please, please, please remember, be a good person. Do not be a bad person. Stay safe, look after each other, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!